back to the iceberg. We've done appearance. Now on to the next part. Now notice we're going under the surface here. And what that means is that appearance you would see immediately. You would clock what someone looks like, what they're wearing. But now we're moving into areas which would take you a little while to find out. You're moving under the surface. These parts take time to find out. And the next part we're going to look at is traits. Traits. Now, traits don't take long to find out because they're not sensitive. They're the sort of things you would find out about someone easily having a chat to them. It could be what's their job, what they do for a hobby, whether they like beer or wine or no drink at all. Do they like reading, TV? Do they play golf? Who their family are? All that sort of thing. Not difficult to find out, not sensitive, but nonetheless important in making you understand the sort of person they are. And so that's part two. It doesn't take too long to work this out, but nonetheless important in filling out a character as well. So there is one part here that I particularly want to mention, which is useful in traits. And use this sparingly. Not everyone you write about should have these, but they can be very, very powerful in giving you a sense of a character. And when I say that, I ask you this question. What do all these characters have in common? Have a think for a second. Whether it's a Dalek and it's exterminate, or Corporal Jones and his don't panic, or Vicky Pollard, yeah, but no, but yeah, but no, but yeah, but yeah, or such fun. Well, yeah, it's catchphrases. Catchphrases. Catchphrases can be very powerful in giving you a sense of a character. And if you get them right, they can live through the years and become famous and also make us all smile. I'll give you some examples. Again, as a little quiz. Can you get these? Whose catchphrases these were? I have a cunning plan. Who's that? Yeah, of course. That's Baldric, Blackadder. Sums up the character, doesn't it? He might have a cunning plan, but it was always rubbish. It never worked out. What about this one? I don't believe it. Get that one? Don't forget, you can pause any time if you want to work it out. That's Victor Meldrew. And again, the poor guy who nothing ever goes right for sums him up. I don't believe it. Something has gone wrong again. What about this one? You stupid boy. Who's that? Dad's Army? Captain Mainwaring? Patronizing, pompous character. Sums it up again in just 3 words. Clever, isn't it? Heidi hi. Recognize that? Well, you know the title of the show. That's Gladys Pugh and Heidi hi. Heidi hi, campers. That was stuff of my youth, I must say. What about this one? You plonker, Rodney. Yep, got that one? Yep, Del Boy, only fools and horses. Lovable guy who thinks he's smarter than everyone else, but not always the case, right? What about this one? You're fired. Yeah, what's that? Yeah, Alan Sugar. Alan Sugar. And again, sums up the soul of the character. 2 words, just 2 words, but that ruthlessness, that business ruthlessness. What about this one? Dull. Last one. Dull. Who's that? Have a think. Homer Simpson, yeah. And again, sort of guy who nothing ever goes right for. Summed up in just that little word. Dull. That's catchphrases. They can be useful for you in setting up a character. Notice also that people in real life will have catchphrases. You'll start to spot it now. There'll be things that they say time and time again. And it can be useful in giving a sense of the character and what they're like. Don't use them with everyone. They can be a little too much if you use them with everyone. But generally, just have a little catchphrase here and there, and it can really build and bring a character to life. Okay, so back to the iceberg. And we're going to the most important part now, the absolute most important point. This can take a long time to find out, and this is drivers. So see how the passage of time below the surface, it takes this amount of time to find things out. Appearance, you get instantly. Traits take a few minutes. They're not sensitive, but drivers, these really, really are sensitive, and these can take quite a long time to find out. And drivers are critical because drivers, as the name suggests, drive characters to do the things they do. In fiction, we've got a lot of drama going on, so characters need to have strong drivers in order to make them do the things that they do. Now, for example, a driver for Harry Potter. Let's look at Harry Potter. Now, throughout that series of books, Harry Potter is fighting Voldemort all the way through, and at great cost to him and his family and friends. People die all over the place, and there's great peril. Now, at several points in the books, Voldemort says to Harry Potter, look, Harry, you're a great wizard. Come and join me and we can rule the wizarding world. But Harry never, ever does. He never does. And why doesn't he? What happened in Harry's past that means he could never, ever stand alongside Voldemort and say, yeah, I'll be with you. There was something that happened when he was very young. What was it? Just have a think. Pause if you like. Have a think for a second. Yeah, you got it. Voldemort murdered his parents, his precious parents. Such a horrendous thing drives Harry throughout the entire series to fight Voldemort, even at huge cost to him and those around him. But he cannot rest until he has defeated Voldemort. And because that is such an ordeal, such a trial for him throughout all those books, we need a really powerful driver to believe in him. And that's the driver for him. So drivers, they take a long time to find out. They can be never found out at all, so long as you know what they are as a writer. But they're really important. They're critical because they drive characters to do the things they do. And interestingly, this works in real life as well. If you think about a great hero like Nelson Mandela, think what happened to Mandela, that he was imprisoned for so many years, the most beautiful years of his life, those years of youth, fighting the apartheid regime. And then when he's released, when that regime starts to crumble, he goes one of two ways, doesn't he? He either fills with vengeance and he wants revenge on those people who incarcerated him, or he goes the other way and he says, no one else will suffer like me. I will try and bring this nation together with my extraordinary moral authority. And he does. Thankfully, he goes that way. And look what it does. South Africa, by no means perfect now, but think what it could have been like if Mandela hadn't been there, trying to hold it together, truth and reconciliation. It could have been a very, very different picture. And that was one man's extraordinary courage and moral authority. Because of the things that had happened to him, he wasn't going to let them happen to anyone else if he could. So he was driven to try and unite the nation. And thankfully, it largely worked. So the character iceberg, the different levels. Think about that. It works with fictional and non-fictional characters. Something else I want to mention on character. This is important as well because it's a common error. Rounding. Now, it's a common problem with characters that writers will make good people too good and bad people too bad. But that's not real life. Writing is supposed to reflect real life. And everybody is a mix. Everybody has good points and bad points. Everybody has light and shade. I was very lucky. I was pretty good at school, and I was in the school athletics team, and I was the long jump. Sorry, not long jump, hopeless. I was the shot put and discus champion at school, but I could not for the life of me throw the javelin. It would only go about 2 meters and it would end up pointing the wrong way around, and I could never crack it. Everybody has flaws. Everybody has good points, rounding. So when you're working on characters, think about their good points and their bad points as well. And I'll give you some examples with some famous characters. Let's look at Katniss, for example. Katniss in the Hunger Games. She's a hero. She's a great warrior. She goes through terrible things to try and bring down this awful establishment. But what's her dark side? Think about it for a second. Pause if you like. What's the dark side of Katniss? Think about how she treats those two young men who love her. Is she any good with love? Matters of the heart? There's your rounding. What about James Bond? James Bond. Now, he's a great hero. He fights to defend the nation. But what about the dark side? Okay, he kills people, but that's probably part of the job description. The dark side? Think about it for a second. Pause if you like. How he treats women. How he drinks. How he gambles. Not so good, huh? Sherlock Holmes. Fantastic character. Brilliant character. Fascinating to us. But the dark side? How is he towards poor old Watson? How is he towards much of society? Dark side, light and shade. And Hannibal Lecter as well, oh, dreadful villain. Murders people, cuts up their livers and has them with a nice glass of wine. Generally frowned upon behavior, I think you'll agree. But what about the light side, the upside of Hannibal Lecter? Think about it for a second. It's clever, isn't he? He appreciates the good things in life, food, drink, music. And what about the way he treats Starling? Okay, he teases her, he sets her puzzles, he gives her difficult things to work through, but ultimately, does he help her? Interesting. Light and shade in absolutely everyone. So that is rounding. And that is pretty much what I've got to say for part one of the Story Writing Social. ABC we've done. A, the angle, sum it up in a line. B, well, B is bravery. Remember the faulty towers, rejection. Anytime you get knocked back, pick yourself up and go again, because even the best get rejections. And then characters. Characters. The character iceberg, what people look like, the initial part, their traits, what they do, what their job is, that sort of thing. And then their drivers. Critically, their drivers. Works for fiction and non-fiction characters. Their drivers. So that's the ABC. I hope to see you for part 2 and thereafter. But I hope that was useful, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.